There we go. All right. Good thing I looked there. Geographers! My voice is giving out. I can't do that as much anymore, but we'll try one more time. Geographers, welcome! Yes! Night before the AP exam, you're going to do great, geographers. Have confidence in yourselves. You're going to rock this exam. Man, I can't believe we're almost done. I'm sorry. That was loud. Now people are like, my ears. But that's all right because you don't need your ears tomorrow. Well, you need your ears, but you just need to be able to focus, to lock in, and that's what we're going to do. So in the last stream, we talked about our free response questions. Today, we're going to be talking about our multiple choice. So remember, you have 60 questions, 60 minutes. So you're going to have a minute for a question. So that's going to be fun. It's also going to be worth 50% of your grade again. So this is important to understand. Half of your score comes from the multiple choice. Half comes from the free response questions. Now, right off the bat, I want to make sure it's fading out. Well, okay, hopefully it stabilizes. Maybe my internet, I don't know. We have a lot of people on, so maybe that's messing stuff up, but hopefully it stabilizes. Realize on the multiple choice part of the test, do not leave any questions blank. This is not like your class. You are not penalized for getting questions wrong. So if time is running out and all of a sudden you're like, oh, shoot, I got like 15 questions left. Make sure you answer all of them. Just quick fill them in. And then if you have a little extra couple of minutes, then maybe go back, check some of them, but don't leave anything blank. Maybe you'll get a couple right, and that could boost you from like a 3 to a 4. You never know. So make sure that you do that for sure. All right. Okay. I also quickly need to do a shout out to Evie, Rory, Aggie, and also Lucy from John Marshall. So shout out, you are amazing students. And also shout out to Miss Overbeck as well. An amazing teacher there. Okay. We're not going to do a bunch of shout outs though. Those was a special one that I had to do. So, all right. Cool. One thing too, a lot of people are asking when we're looking here, whoops, put it up here, when we're looking at the percentages for the test. So again, remember for the multiple choice, for when we're talking about also the FRQs, here's our breakdown when we're looking at the weighted categories. It doesn't help us too much. We can see that unit 1 has the least amount, but we're going to see topics on all of the units on the actual exam there. So have an idea there. This is from that CED. So yes. All right. Now we're going to be doing some practice multiple choice stuff. So hopefully that'll make you be able to understand stuff. One thing I also, as a quick clarification, I forgot to point out, if after the live stream on the FRQs, you're still struggling, I have a video on YouTube. It just goes over the task verbs. And I actually look at other answers. I talk about the actual AP exam. We break down the percentages. So if you want, check it out on YouTube. All right, enough of that. We're just going into multiple choice stuff now. Just like before, I'm not really going to focus on the chat. I'm going to be focusing on doing what we need to do to prep. At the end of this video, we'll do kind of a pep talk, and I'll do some Q&A a little bit, but we're not going to stay on too late tonight because all of you guys need to get some sleep. So, all right, without further ado, then let's get into our multiple choice. So a couple things. One, realize on the AP exam, you're going to see a variety of different types of multiple choice questions. Some of them are going to have a stimuli component. So a map, an image, a table, something that you have to reference for the question. Always make sure you take time to look at that. Also realize that there will be some questions that will use that stimuli component for multiple questions. Sometimes you'll have 3 questions that connect back to like one map. So have an idea of that. This is why it's important to read carefully. You don't want it where you go and you're like, okay, I'm on this next question, but what am I actually like referencing here? So always spend time to break things down and read it. Another thing too, highlight, and you're going to see me do this today because we're going to go through and actually go through a multiple choice test, and I'll highlight and I'll be underlining and stuff. I'll go slower than probably you'll go on the AP test, but I'm going to try to like show you my thought processes. But highlight things, especially any task verbs that could appear, focus on any vocab and any particular themes. That's going to be important. Realize that this test, you're going to have a lot of different questions. They're going to focus on something political. They're going to focus on something environmental, social. They're going to focus on economic. Those are kind of our 4 big themes that we see throughout all the units. And if a question's asking about something political, realize that the answer should connect to that. And sometimes the College Board is going to put distractor answers there. Now, realize like a distractor answer is going to be one that's like maybe it's right, but it's not right for the question that's actually being asked. So we always need to connect back. Like it could be a true statement, but it might have nothing to do with the actual question. And so this is where if you're like skimming and you're not really reading carefully, it's easy to fall for those. So make sure you read the question in its entirety. That'll help out. Another thing too, to make sure that as you're going through is look for scale. If a question's talking about like a more localized scale, or if a question's talking about a national, then the answer should connect to that. So you want to have an understanding of that as well. Sometimes, even if you don't know the answer, that kind of can help because you can actually kind of quick see, all right, we're talking about national scale. I can see that question or part D and E are talking about regional and local. Well, B and A are talking about national. You could probably then eliminate some of these, focus on the ones that are actually connecting to the context of the question. So even if you blank, then at least you're able to narrow it down now to like a 50-50. Another thing too, with time, you only have technically a minute for each question. Now realize that 60 minutes, you can divide up however you want. So it's not like you actually have to have timing yourself like, okay, I'm at 60 seconds here. I got to move on to the next one. Some of the questions you might get right away. Some might take a little bit more time. I would encourage you though, if you get to a question and you truly have no idea, and you're looking at context clues, you're reading the other parts of the question, things around, you're like, I have no idea. See if you can do some process of elimination, take a guess, and then mark it for review. You can do that on the digital exam. So mark it for review. If you have time at the end, then go back. You don't want to spend too much time on a test though, really focusing on a question that you have no idea about, because you could then miss questions later that you for sure know. Again, every single point helps you out. You're not penalized by wrong points, so focus on those ones that you can get right. But definitely don't leave anything blank. So that's some general tips for the multiple choice. We'll go more into them as we go through. What we're going to do now is kind of transition. I'm going to actually go through kind of a test and I'm going to break it down. At any point, by all means, if you're like, hey, I'm feeling better here, my time would be better spent doing something else, go do that. The goal here is that you can actually focus on what is going to help you the most. So if you're feeling good here, then move on. Again, at the end of the stream, we'll go into some Q&A a little bit, and then also do the kind of like final pep talk. But you can always come back. So I just want to make sure people are being aware of that. All right, here we go. This is from the CD. If you really wanted to follow along, by all means, you can. Again, I'm not looking at the super chats right now and that stuff. I'll do all that at the end, but we're going to just focus on review. So this is from the CD. This is a College Board here. What we're going to be looking at right away, we have question 1. We can see we got a demographic transition model question. Can I move this? Oh, that's a little better. Let's go. Well, maybe not. Nope. That's fine. All right. Okay. So as we're going through here, right away, we have a demographic transition model showing up here. We're going to read the question. So let's look at that. We'll kind of highlight as we go. We want to practice good skills here. So which of the following characteristics of a country? So I know it's a country. Right away, that's going to kind of eliminate stage 1. Remember, we don't have any more countries in stage 1. And we're moving from, so the focus here, let's switch this quick. So we'll do green. So we're moving from, so we're talking about a transition, and we are going from stage 2 to stage 3 of the DTM model. So again, highlighting that the focus here is this transition between the 2 stages. So I'm not just talking about one particular stage, it's this in between. So that's important to note, because some of these questions, or some of these answers, might actually connect to just a specific stage. But I am now specifically focusing on this transition from 2 to 3. So if I'm looking at this, we can see here, I don't care about stage 4. I don't care about stage 1. In fact, all I'm really going to be caring about is what's going to be happening here. So this transition over. So this, we're not focusing at all. Now, as we go down, we can look at our possible answers here. So we can see a shorter life expectancy. Well, that doesn't necessarily make sense. I mean, we can see here, if we wanted to focus quick, I can actually see we have our birth rate, our death rate. Total population. Nice thing here, even if I didn't remember the demographic transition model, which is a model you really need to know for this test, you got a reference here to help out. But I can see my life expectancy, total population is increasing over time. Our population is actually going up. It's not going down. Our births between here. So if I'm looking at births, we'll put births as orange. But this is starting to go down. But that is not our life expectancy. So births now are going to be orange there. So we'll kind of color this a little bit. Again, you can write on your tests and stuff. So that'll help. So right away, I can cross A off. I know that that is not true. So we can see that doesn't connect. Increasing birth rate. We just identified that just from spending some time looking here. We can also increase that off. We can see going between 2 and 3, our birth rates are decreasing. So making sure we understand that. High level of female education. Okay, we do know. So generally, as economic development's occurring, women start to get more jobs. They get more access to opportunities. They start participating more in society. And so that is happening. So maybe, let's say we leave that one as a possibility. So again, we always have to read all of the answers. So right now, we'll kind of just leave C here as a possibility. Going down, declining death rate. Our death rate, again, yeah, we can see our death rate is going down. That is happening as well. So we can see it's really starting to drop, in fact, right there. So we'll do red will be our death rate here. We can see. So it is actually kind of plummeting there. So another one that could also be possibly correct. We can see that actually visually in that stimuli component. And then E, increasing dependence on farm labor. So technically, we're not really seeing that here. But remember, if we quick connect back and we want a quick look, over time, as more economic development happens, we talked about this in our live streams, that agricultural density, remember, starts to decline because we have more efficient methods of producing. So agricultural density, again, is our total farmers divided by total arable land. And this is saying we have increasing dependence on farm labor. Well, that's a little counterintuitive. As we have more economic development, we're going to have more access to money. And so actually, E is not going to be correct. The opposite would actually be true. We're going to start to see decreasing kind of happen there. We don't need as much. So now we have it between C and D. Let me know quick in the chat. What do you think? D, C. We got it down to 2 possible answers. And the correct answer is D. D, yes. D. It is D. Some people are saying C. The reason why that high level of female education, that's not going to really start happening more until like stage 4. So when we're starting to go into stage 3, more opportunities are starting to happen for women. Also, too, when we're looking at D, so some people are also pointing that out in the chat there. That's okay. When we're looking there, we can actually see this decline happening right there. So it's in that stimuli that is actually connected to the question. So we can visually, again, connect it to what's being presented to us, where the other one's not as much there. All right, we're going to go on to our next question. So these start off a little easier, and then they do kind of build. So they do build. All right, here we go. Some people say I'm talking too long, too little. That's all right. Again, if you have better things to do, by all means, go and do that. All right, here we go. So we have a map that we're looking at. We're going to read our question. We can quick see there's no source. We're just kind of looking here at a political map of the world. I can see we have our countries and we have these areas shaded. All right. So we spent a little time understanding what we're looking at. We can come down to the question now. And what we're going to do is start highlighting. So right away, Berlin Conference. I'm thinking about Unit 4. Again, don't worry about memorizing the dates. We can see in this question, it gives us the dates. That's great. It's giving us some context here, but you don't have to memorize this. So that's something important. I can also see the partition of India. So another concept from Unit 4 here. And we're also talking about borders specifically. So we want to click here. Africa and South Asia. And we're talking about the current world map. So then it says, which of the following best describes, so describe, we're talking about one of our task verbs here, describes the type of political border resulting from these events. So this one, again, is kind of seeing, do you understand the vocab? So we're not going to spend too much time on it, but I do want to highlight, even though this one's a little bit easier of a question, and if you don't know it, no worries, we're going to go over it. But notice we're talking about Africa and we're talking about South Asia. My answer has to connect to both of those. We're also looking at the current map, and then again, we're describing this political border. So we're talking about 2 different regions, and we're also talking about political boundaries. And that political boundary we're identifying has to then connect back to both areas. So maybe one of these answers might be a good answer for one of them, but if it doesn't connect to both, it can't be the right answer. So realize that when we're looking at this map now, I only care about kind of this region here, and it's highlighted already. So I care here and I care here. The rest I don't care about. And it has to connect to both. So as we're going down relic boundary here, where we're looking at it, that is not going to be true. We're looking at current boundaries here. That is going to be more like an example of a relic boundary would be the Berlin Wall, which contrary to what people are saying in the stream, remember the Berlin Wall and the Berlin Conference are two different things. So they are not the same thing. The Berlin Conference is kind of that scramble for Africa. European powers were coming in and then actually colonizing and setting up boundaries. So that alone hopefully gives you kind of a hint there. So it's not relic boundaries, antecedent boundaries. The cultural landscape, the cultures were already here. Same thing over here. So these cultures already existed. So it's not antecedent. Remember, antecedent boundaries are boundaries that are created before the cultural landscape was created. Consequent boundaries. This one technically could kind of work for India and Pakistan. So this partition of India, this division that's happening here, that did separate religious groups from conflict. So that could be something that could connect here, possibly, but it doesn't connect into Africa as much. So part of it's right, but again, we have to connect to both aspects. So because of that, C is not going to be the correct answer. Subsequent, then again, these are boundaries that are created around that cultural landscape. So a lot of Eastern European countries, remember, would fall there. This is not the case for these. In fact, a lot of the boundaries here do not go with the the different ethnic group and nations. So we can eliminate that. And the answer would be D, superimposed boundaries, which makes sense. A lot of people talked in the chat already about this, but yes, we can see these are created. Superimposed boundaries are created by foreign states, outside states. All right, cool. Let's go on to our next one right away. I noticed before we even get down, it's saying questions 3 to 5 refer to the image below. So again, these things connect to multiple questions. So have an idea on that. And again, too, when I'm going through this, some of these might be easier, some of them might not. The goal of this is trying to hopefully get you ready just mentally. Like, how could you break down questions? Ideally, when you quick do these highlights, like I'm going to talk a little bit longer for each one, but on the test, by doing this, it'll help you speed up because you won't make those mistakes. You won't miss some of these parts. So you can kind of quick be able to see these aspects. All right. So right away, when I look at this, one thing I'm going to point out is our source. So we can see the United States Geological Survey. Also spending some time looking at our data. I can see this grid-like pattern here. Hopefully that connects to some concepts already that you're thinking of. We can see we kind of have maybe a settlement right here. It looks like we got some rivers, some roads and stuff. But the main focus of this clearly is this grid pattern here. So we come down, which of the following land survey systems is shown in the satellite image above? Right away, the multiple nuclei model connects to Unit 6. I'm not looking at a big urban area here. I don't see any of this, so we can cross that off right away. Suburban subdivision. This is looking at a pretty wide area. It's not just focusing on one suburb, and I'm also not seeing the divisions. So again, we could cross that off right away. So now we're down to 3, which are our main survey methods. Make sure you know these. Remember, long lots is going to be where you have land. Look at this art. This is quality here. There you go. This would be like long lots. So land is divided in these kind of linear systems here. Generally, they are then connected to like a body of water or something. So we got our little river here is flowing. I don't know. It could also be a road or something there. So that's definitely not in this image. We could cross that off. Remember with meets and bounds. So with meets and bounds, you're going to have it where it's like, all right, we have this like kind of tree here or something. Little tree that's going to go over here. Maybe we have like this is terrible, a house. There we go. We got our little house, and then we got like a big road here, so it'll go to the road. So this would be like more meets and bounds. So this would be like our property that's existing here, this quality art. So that's also not shown there. So meets and bounds would not be it. That would leave township and range. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. We're going to go on to the next question now. All right. So that's just, again, a vocab one. Now we have the next question here. In reading the landscape of the image, a geographer will most likely identify the land survey pattern. So that's what we're looking at here, as typical with which of the following locations. All right, so this one's a little bit different. And so one of the things that's a little different here is it's talking about different locations. So we already know the land survey pattern. We identified that in the previous question. Now, which one does it connect the most to? And so you probably didn't study all of these different places. Maybe you did. I don't know if you really did look at all the agricultural regions of Eastern Canada or coastal regions of China. But there's a couple things that you can quick see with this. When even looking at source right away, United States Geological Survey, that should be giving you a hint. You also should be able to see township and range, which we already identified, which you should have an idea too, that we are looking at stuff from the United States. So just knowing that, we can already cross all these off except for A. So again, starting off a little bit easier here, but using some of those context clues, even if you panic on the test and you don't remember these other areas, oops, switch to the highlight. You can kind of break stuff down a little bit by even just looking at the source, looking at the stimuli again, pausing and breathing. So that can break it down. A quick sneeze. Excuse me. All right. Here we go. Again, I'm not really paying to the chat and everything. We're going to be going through these one question at a time. And I'll get to the chat and questions a little bit later, and also like super chats and all that. All right, here we go. Technologies invented during which of the following periods explain how farmland was divided and cultivated? I'm sneezing it. Terribly sorry. All right. We're back. These live streams have been a lot. All right. So when we're looking at this, so again, we're referencing to that same stimuli component there. We have a couple things going on. So here we're talking about technologies. We're looking at different periods. We're also focusing on how farmland was divided. So, and also cultivated. And it's shown in that satellite image. So this is just another reminder. We're connecting back to this concept here. So as we go through, we can see we have the Columbian Exchange, first agricultural revolution, second agricultural revolution, modern era, post-industrial era. All of these are concepts that have come up in this class. All of these are different things that you've probably learned about. And so this one could be a little bit trickier. So right off the bat, Columbian Exchange, let's focus on A. So you always want to read everything. Columbian Exchange, when the use of old world farm animals such as cows and horses was introduced. That's great. If we're talking about the Columbian Exchange, there was a lot of transfer back and forth between different areas, but realize when we're talking here, this is not connecting to technologies. We're not also looking at how farmland is divided. This is kind of a focus here. So we can cross this off. Even if this statement was like factually correct, it doesn't matter because it is not connecting back to what the question's focused on. First agricultural revolution is when animal powered plow and domesticated plants were developed. So domesticated plants were developed in that first agricultural revolution. That's true. The plow, yeah, no, but really, no, this one doesn't work and it doesn't connect back. So again, this is one of the things, even if, let's say, on the test, you're blanking about the Columbian Exchange or any of these things, remembering what the question is focusing on can help you eliminate answers that sound correct. So always make sure to take it a little bit slower. So when we're crossing that off again, we're now down to C, D, and E. Here we have the second agricultural revolution when land survey. So right away, to me, that there, we're talking about land surveying technology, that is connecting. Right away, it has technology in it. That connects perfectly there. Land surveying connects to land being divided. And we're also looking at the mechanical plows were developed, which would connect back to cultivation. So right now, I've connected to all three. So C would be right now looking really good. We're going to leave that one. Again, we always need to read all of the options. And I realize on here, some of these are like, oh, it's really easy. I know it right away. On the AP test, though, when you're stressed, it's easy to see an answer that you're like, oh, this is clearly it. You're going to then answer it and then move on to the next one. But, okay, it says I'm lagging. I apologize if it's lagging. Yeah. Hopefully it stops lagging. Yeah. All right. So going back, we'll see. All right. Lag. Yeah. All right. If it's lagging and it doesn't work for you guys, again, go try to do something else. So we're moving on. So as we go through then, we have D. So modern era here, when local farms use computers, data analysts. This isn't connecting to all of our components here. Sure, we're talking about maybe some geospatial technologies, but we're focusing here on like data analytics and stuff. So this also is not going to connect. So right now, C is definitely looking the best. Post-industrial era, when a local farm used global positioning. Okay, we're talking about GPS here and geographic information system. Again, this doesn't fully connect there. GPS systems, sure. Maybe we could connect into stuff with agriculture, but our image is going to more use remote sensing. So it'd connect more there. So C would be the correct answer. It connects to all parts of the question. Cool. All right, let's go on to 6. So again, C is right because it's connecting to each part. So when we're looking at this, it connected into why it was divided. It connected into cultivation, technology, and it also kind of connects into that satellite image. So that's why C is going to be correct. All right, which of the following factors best explains the development and expansion of squatter settlements? So here we go. This is where we're actually seeing some connections into Unit 6. So right off the bat, gentrification, we have a vocab term there. And we're also, sorry, forgot to highlight. Always got to make sure we highlight, because the focus of this question is focusing on squatter settlements, and we're also focusing on the development and expansion of. So I need to find answers that are going to explain why they're growing. And again, which one is going to best explain? One thing to note, if you ever see a multiple choice question that says best explains, realize that it's going to be a little bit trickier sometimes. Not always. So for example, maybe this one isn't as much, but generally that just means that there's other answers that are going to sound correct, but one is the most correct. And a lot of times students get frustrated with that, which I get, because it's almost, they say it's like a trick question, but it's really trying to see, do you really understand this concept? So as we're going through and going down, right away, we can see gentrification of mega cities in more developed countries, displacing larger number of urban dwellers. So this isn't going to necessarily fully explain. I mean, sure, if gentrification happens, then people are being displaced. Remember, gentrification is when we have wealthier individuals moving in to a neighborhood. It's raising those property values. Property taxes go up and becomes harder then to be able to afford rent. And so some of our lower income residents that are in that new area start to get phased out. They get pushed out because economically they just can't afford it anymore. So that'd be gentrification. So theoretically, that could lead to some people maybe moving to squatter settlements. Theoretically, it could. So we could leave that there as a possible one, but it's not necessarily the strongest that we got so far. Let's keep going down. So B is saying rapid urbanization. All right. And an inability of infrastructure to keep up with growth there in these developing countries. Okay. So we're talking about, when we're talking about developing less economically developed areas, again, we're talking about some mega cities here. Rapid urbanization is going to connect into kind of like stage 2 a little bit there, and inability for infrastructure for 6. Okay. All of these also do connect into squatter settlements. Why we start having squatter settlements forming is because we don't have enough infrastructure. We don't have enough homes. We don't have enough resources. So B right now is looking really good, because this rapid urbanization, if we want, we can connect to stage 2 of that demographic transition model, which, remember, is when we see big population booms and then more and more people going to urban areas for new economic opportunities. And so all these new people coming, coupled with lack of infrastructure, inability to produce it, then could lead to more and more squatter settlements. And if you also actually connect to the urban models, the Latin city American model, the sub-Saharan African model, in particular, those two, remember those had that like disamenity zones, our favelas, our squatter settlements, informal settlements on the surrounding areas. That would also connect here. They lacked those settlements and stuff, infrastructure. And so with that large growth, we saw that happen. So B right now is looking pretty good as well. Definitely better than A. So we are going to, my bad. We're going to cross A off, because already I'm feeling like B is a lot better than A. And again, I got to find the one that best connects. All right, C, urban dwellers. So people who are living in urban societies there, seeking residential housing and shopping outside. Okay, so this doesn't connect really at all. It's saying people are just seeking housing outside of the urban area because they're trying to escape congestion, which would be traffic. So this is not going to explain why we're going to have these squatter settlements fully. All right, zoning laws in developing countries that prevent current urban dwellers from obtaining a land to build residential structures. All right, so zoning laws, if we have those and they're preventing people from obtaining land to build, that could, when we're looking at this, do that. I mean, if you aren't able to actually be able to produce or make a house there, maybe you'll have more. But B still is connecting on more parts. So we could leave D as a maybe, but B still seems a lot better. All right, E, the growth of urban agricultural, agriculture, encouraging migrants from our farm workers to move to cities requiring more housing. Again, this is not connecting into squatter settlements fully. These growth of urban agriculture trying to encourage people to actually move to the city for more housing. If they're requiring it, there's probably housing. So this isn't going to fully explain squatter settlements. So B is going to be the correct answer for it. It connects on multiple points and even to different units. So that would be our correct answer. All right. Again, we're going through things slow, but it's also trying to highlight different ways that you can break these questions down. So I'm going to quick take a drink of water, and then we're going to keep going through. Eventually, we're going to get into some where they're getting a little bit more complicated. So 1 minute. All right, and we are back. Thank you very much. Just need to get a drink of water there. All right, so here we have the lush golf course of the United Arab Emirates. So right away, we're already kind of referencing some environmental things. So we're talking about the UAE. We have the dikes and the polders, which are talking about ways in which we've modified the environment. So again, right away, as we're reading this, we're focusing on those key components. And there we're talking about the Netherlands. All right, so we got the Netherlands. We also have the Three Gorge Dam in China, and we're talking about land use. So all of these here, we're looking at different viewpoints for human-environment interaction. Which one is best explained? Cool. So here we're looking at these different theories and perspectives. Hopefully you kind of already got this one pretty quick. So remember here, the question is specifically focusing on ways we've modified that environment. And that's going to lead us to possibilism. Because remember, possibilism is the idea that, yes, the the environment does set some restrictions on society, but human agency, our ability to take initiative and action, actually does allow us to overcome the environment there. Environmental determinism, remember, that is something that's saying like the environment sets the parameters for society. Society is succeeding or failing. It's going to be up to the environment. It is not going to be up to like the individual cultures there. So C is going to be the correct thing there. When we're looking at this Heartland theory, you don't have to worry about for our test. So it's not going to be there. Ecotourism. Remember, this is going to be where we're promoting tourism that's going to be more environmentally sustainable. These things like the dam's going to be generating power. This is going to be doing some energy stuff as well. The golf course maybe would have some tourism, but none of these are referencing like ecotourism. It's not focusing on preserving the natural environment. It's not focusing on like the culture there. So it would not be B. And Malthusian theory, remember, is dealing with our population growth. So Malthus there would not be the correct answer. C is going to be the right answer. Remember with Malthus too, to study some of the critiques of it, but Malthus was the one who was like, hey, our food production is going to grow arithmetically, and then our population is going to be exponential. We're going to have this like kind of J curve going up, and eventually they'll cross. And where they cross there, we're going to have this Malthusian catastrophe. And so we're going to run into a bunch of different issues there. Cool. Let's go here. Going on to the next thing. So going down here, we have another question where we have multiple components. So this is referring to 8 and 9. So that's important to understand. Realize when we're looking at this right away, you want to make sure that you understand what we're talking about. So I can see I'm looking at total, it doesn't let me highlight that. That's fine. But I'm looking at total coal miner employment versus productivity. So have an idea of that. You want to make sure that you're understanding that here we're looking at the total United States miner employment. And then here we're looking at the annual production per miner. So this line here, and we're going to make this one kind of the green line. This is looking at our production. And right away, again, I always think it helps to spend a little time with these stimuli, just so you understand it when you get to the question. One real quick thing, if I was taking this test and I get to this, I'm going to quickly observe it like this. And this is what I would literally do. I'd go through and I'd say, okay, I can see our total employment here per miner. We are decreasing. We see a little bit of an increase here around 1975, 1980, but then we decrease again. However, even though our employment's decreasing, I can also see my per miner production is going up. Right away in my mind, I'm thinking like, why would that be? That seems kind of weird. We have less people working, but we're having more production there. Technological advancements could be happening. So these are the connections I'd make. I'd spend just like those 6 seconds on it. And then we're going to start to go down. So as we go down, we have our first question here. Which of the following processes accounts for the change? So we're focusing on the change in coal miners employed. So right there, that's important for me to understand. I am not focusing on this annual production. I'm looking at the total employment here. This question is specific for that change in employment. So, and I'm also want to focus on this. And we're going to, so here we're focusing on change here in employed. We're also only focusing on 1950 to 2000. So this is important to understand. This means for this data here, anything that is below, like here, oh, we're gonna make this red. Actually, we're gonna do it this way. So I don't care for this question about any of this information over here. You want to mentally block that out. What we're seeing here is it is just literally focused 1950 to 2000. So I also don't care about, did I copy it? Perfect. Whoa. Well, that's fine. All right. So I also don't care about this part here as well. This is the only part of the chart that the question is answering. And make sure, again, this is why we have to read carefully. I realize some of this stuff, maybe it's already okay, I get it. I get it. Every year, so many students make these mistakes. The end of this question is giving us a specific time frame from the data. So the answer has to connect to that. Now, sometimes like this one, we can see just a bunch of vocab terms that's connecting to, but sometimes it might be talking about a trend, or it might be talking about different events that are happening. So the answers would be a little bit longer. And sometimes the question will reference different time periods. The answers will too. So always make sure we practice just focusing on exactly what the question is asking us about. All right. So from here, we can see then as we're going down, let's look at the answers now. Technological diffusion. Okay. So that's just talking about technology diffusing. So we're not talking about, maybe that would connect more, honestly, for our production, but does that fully connect and explain these trends here? Not necessarily. So that one is probably going to be not the correct answer. We could probably remove A. So technological diffusion would not fully explain the change in coal miners employed between these times. Just-in-time production. So if we're looking at just-in-time production, remember that would be when we're actually going to get the products that we need, like the different things for manufacturing, to be delivered at that exact moment that they are needed. And so that also is not going to connect to our employees here. We'll switch it to red. So we could also remove that. Industrial Revolution. So yeah, time frames are off there. So we could remove that right away. Also, Industrial Revolution is going to lead to more people actually being able to work in factories and that secondary sector. So realize we could also remove that. So There you go. Not the Industrial Revolution. Time frame doesn't make sense there. And also, again, too, we would see an increase in the amount of workers. Devolution. This is a concept from Unit 4. So remember, devolution is looking at that transfer of power. So we're moving from more of essentially from like that the national level kind of down. So like more regional. Again, don't mix up devolution with federalism. So federalism, devolution, two different concepts. Don't mix that up. So that does nothing to do with the amount of workers. We could get rid of this. Deindustrialization would best connect. Remember, industrialization is where we're seeing more and more of those secondary jobs. So we're seeing more and more factory positions. If we're looking at the Industrial Revolution, coal is a major thing. So we'd see more and more coal being used, more of those natural resources. Deindustrialization is the opposite. We're actually seeing less. And we talked about this the other day. So industrialization, C, I see people who are asking about C there. But C is mainly focusing, one, it's the wrong time frame. So again, the end of the question, 2000, the Industrial Revolution isn't happening around 2000. So that doesn't work. And also it would lead to more jobs. So E would be the correct answer there. All right, we're going to do a couple more of these. Then I'm going to try to do a little bit of Q&A. And then we are going to be wrapping up because I want to make sure that you guys are getting some sleep. We'll do a little, I don't know, we'll do some little pep talk at the end there too. So maybe we'll do just a couple more. All right, here we go. Compare the bar graph showing coal, and we'll switch back to our highlighting. The bar graph showing coal mine employment and, okay, so here we have two things now. So right away, coal mine employment and the line graph showing miner production. So I'm comparing both of these, which the nice thing is I've already done that. So we already did that when we first started. So I already have in the back of my mind kind of an idea of what I'm thinking the answer could be. So which of the following conclusions can be drawn from this trended data? So realize right here, we have no years. This is not specific to one type of time frame, which right here it was. So we're going to be using all of the data here. So have an idea of that. All right, going down, let's look at this. A is saying that coal mining has been outsourced to less developed countries. Okay, couple things. If we're looking at this, coal's pretty heavy, so it's hard to transport. If we connect into Weber's least cost theory, you're probably not going to be trying to transport super long distances. At the same time, though, actually, because cargo ships can hold things and it's easier to transport there, you could put it on there. So, all right, theoretically, this could be happening. Outsourced international divisional labor. We know that stuff goes to more or less developed countries. However, this does not connect to both of our trends. Remember when we highlighted, we had to connect to coal mine employment and the line graph showing miner production. So this is why it's important to highlight so we know that it connects back. So sure, maybe this connected to one of them. Maybe this explains why jobs are going down, but it does not connect to the second. This would not explain why our production is going up per miner. So A, we can cross off. All right, B, mechanization and computer automation in mining have increased. Okay, that makes sense. If we're looking at this, honestly, this could be a possible answer. Mechanization would explain. So if we quick underline or highlight here, mechanization would connect back to why miner production is going up. It also, with computer automation and stuff, could talk about why we're seeing less workers, but they're also producing more. If we connect quick back to even our agricultural density, remember, as technology continues to improve, we need less workers there, and they're able to produce more. So right now, B is connecting to both. B is accurately kind of explaining this trend. It explains why we're seeing total output or our miners go down and why our production is going up. So we can leave B on the screen there right now. Again, though, we always need to make sure that we read all of them because you never know if there's one that could be better. All right, here we have legal restrictions have been imposed on the amount of coal exported overseas. Okay, so this is preventing then. So we have legal restrictions, which would be political. They are preventing then coal from being exported. So that is then actually starting to decrease what's actually being exported out, which again, isn't going to connect to these topics here. I mean, if we're actually going to export less, why would we then keep producing more? It wouldn't make sense. It kind of contradicts there. If I have less people to sell it to, I'm not going to produce as much. So C is going to be removed there. All right, D, renewable resources are being used more frequently to power vehicles. This could be a factual statement. Over time, that sure could be happening, but it does not explain our trends. Again, if that's true, then why are we seeing this ramp up? We wouldn't also continue to need more and more coal being produced. And here, natural gas and oil production of electricity has declined. We're looking here at coal. So I can see here, this is like the thousands of persons. So we're looking here of tons per year, and then the production of miners. So this isn't talking about natural gas at all. So this would be incorrect there. B would be our correct answer. So hopefully that makes sense. How are people feeling? How are we doing in the chat? A quick look over. Okay, some people saying good. Some people saying no. Some people asking about. Some people are asking about spelling on it for the FRQ. Don't worry about spelling. Some people are saying they're cooked. You're cooked. Feeling good. Feeling better. Okay, good. I'm glad it's helping. Tired. All right. Yes. I made it make sense. Good. I'm glad this is helping out. Again, you can do this on the exam. You're going to go faster than how I'm doing this. But this thought process of trying to get them down. Again, maybe you can't get it to just one every time. But if you can get to a 50-50, awesome. Take a shot on it and go on to the next question. You can always mark it for review. If you have more time, then go back to it. So yeah. And some of these too, if you know right away, it's like a vocab question, you don't need to do all of the highlighting, underline that I'm doing, but I'm trying to just show you kind of a thought process to go through on some of these things. All right, let's see here. We'll do a couple more and then we'll do some questions and then we're going to be wrapping up pretty soon. So again, if you need to head out, by all means, head out, do what is best for you right now. That is what makes sense. So here we go. Which of the following is a pull factor affecting migration to some of the more developed countries? All right, couple things. One, you want to we want to focus on pull factors. So it's asking that. We're also talking about migration and we're talking about more developed countries. So realize this is talking about economics. So we're looking at more economically developed countries. So pull factors, push factors. Remember, pull are things that are going to motivate people to go there. Push is going to be things that are going to push them away. Now, this question, honestly, even if you don't remember that, we can see a couple things here. When we're breaking it down, loss of factory jobs, severe famine, the rise of an authoritarian regime, universal health care, religious persecution. All of these are negative except for one. So that kind of lets us know there's an outlier here. This isn't a not question. So it's not trying to find which one doesn't fit. It's trying to find only one answer that does fit. So even knowing that, I could cross off A, I can cross off B. When I'm looking at, I can cross off C and I could cross off E. D is going to be the right answer. So again, if you blank on it and you don't remember what a pull factor is or any of that, you can kind of see the impact there of these questions when we're just breaking down which one doesn't fit. So, all right, here we go. We'll do another one here. So we have a map that we can see. Can we zoom out a little bit so we can? So here we have a chloropleth map. We are looking at the United States. Here we can see a couple things. So again, right away, I always want to spend time knowing what I'm looking at. So here we can see percentage of people 5 years old and older who speak a language other than English at home by county. So right away, realize there that the county level, what we're talking about there, that's going to be a local scale of analysis. We're looking at the entire country though. So we have a global national scale. So have an idea there. Also too, real quick, when I see this, I'm kind of looking, I notice, all right, we have our highest kind of right over here. We have a little bit more higher percentages. So this is that 60 or more percent. We have a couple of pockets up here in the upper western part. All right. Maybe a little bit in Florida. So I'm kind of just identifying, having an idea of some of the kind of data here that we're looking at. We got some over here in Alaska too. If I'm looking, although, for the bottom there, I can see the Midwest, this actually whole kind of part, not just the Midwest, that probably has the lowest. So all I'm doing is just trying to observe our map. So I have a little bit of a better idea of what's going on. As I go down, one of the things I can see here is our question. So it says, based on the map, which of the following images, or sorry, I got to zoom in. My screen, this gets really small. Based on the map, which of the following languages are most likely to be spoken in counties where 60%, so right there, this is a really important part that I would want to highlight if I was taking the test. 60% or more of residents who spoke a language other than English at home. Okay, so I already actually kind of like figured this out just from spending that little bit of time breaking down our map and the data. But this is important. The question is only asking about that 60% or more. And so I don't care about these other categories. I'm just focused at 60% because that's what the question wants to know. So when I'm looking at that, I can see first, let's see where they're located. All right, the majority are kind of the southern United States. We have Mexico, we know here. If we connect back to Unit 4 and we're looking at some of the colonization and kind of Europeans that occupied these different areas, that would give us some idea of maybe some of the languages that could be prevalent. So if we break it down, we can see the French and Creole languages. Okay, so that connects into Unit 4, but the French and the Creole languages are going to be a little bit more over here on the eastern coast. Like, so for example, if you're looking at like Louisiana, so you got Creole there. So we could cross that off. This is not going to be an area where we have 60% or more. Let's go back to the pencil. There we go. Spanish and American Indian languages. Okay. Spanish for sure would work. And actually with Alaska, Indian languages would work, indigenous languages. If we also connect back to some of like the migration patterns in the United States, as the Europeans, the 13 colonies, and we kind of continue to see this migration of indigenous people westwards, that could also connect to some of these things. So B right now is looking good there. Again, I'm only focusing on this 60%. So some of these other languages are going to be located in some of these other regions, but they don't make 60% or more. So that's why they're not going to connect there. So German and Dutch, again, Spanish is definitely going to connect a lot better here than German and Dutch. So that's going to be a little bit more some of the Midwest or some of the Eastern there. So we could cross that off. Russian and Hindi, again, it's not going to connect as well. Same thing with Chinese or Arabic. This question does require a little bit of some prior knowledge, but even just having an understanding of geographically where some of these places are located, knowing that it's right by Mexico or that Mexico did control this area in the past. So that can connect into some of our languages here. And again, the focus, we're just at that 60%. All right, going down, here we go. Which of the following best explains a neo-Malthusian perspective on the Green Revolution? All right, so we got a couple different units here that we are looking at. So one, we are looking at Unit 2. Neo-Malthusian, remember, is different than Malthus. So Malthus was just focused on food. Neo-Malthusians is more of a modern kind of approach there, factoring in resources and other things there. Green Revolution is going to be from our Unit 5. And so remember, that is going to be as well that third agricultural revolution. So breaking this question down, we can see a couple different things going on. So one, for A, we have the Green Revolution represents a jump in agricultural technology, but population will still grow faster than our ability to produce food over the long run. Okay, so someone who's going to be a Malthus supporter, they're going to be still worried about food. They're going to be still worried about some of these aspects of it, of society and our development. But Green Revolution, it does show that our technology increased, but our food production increased as well. We are actually able to produce more food. Even today, we can produce enough food for the world. We just have a distribution problem. That means we're not distributing it in a way that supports everyone. So this could work to an extent. We'll see. We got to go through the other options. So we're going to leave this one right now as a possibility. The Green Revolution solves the entire problem of feeding the planet, and Malthusian ideas are no longer relevant. Okay, this would not connect into a neo-Malthus perspective here. Again, we're looking from the perspective of a neo-Malthusian on the Green Revolution. So what they're going to say about it. A connects a lot better. So right now we're going to eliminate B. C, local food production is key to long-term food production. Okay, that's great, but how is this connecting into the Green Revolution fully? What's going on with neo-Malthusians? C here, when we're looking at it, this is definitely not going to be the best answer. A already is a little bit better of an answer. If we look here at D, the distribution of food in the capital system requires in too many people being unable to afford basic foods. Okay, so we're talking about capitalism here, which is an economic system. We're also talking about the distribution of food. And we do know that in the world today that we have a distribution problem. I talked about that when looking at A. But A also was very specific to that Green Revolution. It did talk about the jump in agricultural technologies. So A is still better. So we can remove D. This doesn't really connect into that Green Revolution. And then we have E, the increase in the food supply and resulting increase in the population available for farm labor will solve the food crisis. That is not going to be a neo-Malthusian perspective because they're still worried about it. This is saying like, hey, we don't have an issue anymore. And so E would be removed. A is going to be the correct answer. That'd be the best. So originally, I realized I kind of like debated back and forth of it. And that's because you're trying to like break it down. You're trying to look like, is there other things that maybe is wrong about it? So A, if we read it again, the Green Revolution represents a jump in agricultural technology. So it's saying that jump there, we're seeing more increase in our ability to produce food. So it doesn't specifically talk about all the extra like food we're getting, but it is focusing on that technology, which would lead to higher production. And now the neo-Malthusian perspective, they're still going to be skeptical. So the second part here where it's saying, but population will still grow faster than our ability to produce food over the long run. That would connect them more into that neo-Malthus perspective because they're going to still say that Malthus is correct. Even with some of these other things, Malthus is still actually on the right path there. So hopefully this is helping you out. We're going to start wrapping this up because I want to be respectful of your time. And I also want to make sure that people are getting some sleep. So I realize I got some super chats that I have to look through and stuff there. So before you go, though, we'll go do one little kind of last pep talk here. It's always surreal to me to like be able to do this. I've loved teaching. I've been teaching for over 10 years. And then this kind of YouTube and stuff just kind of happened because I was trying to help my own students. And I'm very grateful for all of you for being part of the channel, for joining the Discord community, using the packets and all that, and studying. Realize that you are going to do great tomorrow. I get that you're going to be stressed. I understand that it's not easy to take this test, and that a lot of you, honestly, are first time you're taking an AP test, and that can be nerve-wracking. But know that you can do this. You're going to do great tomorrow. You've put the work in all year. Honestly, what you need to do now is go and get some sleep and relax a little bit and be proud of the work that you have done. Regardless if you get a 3, a 4, a 5, even a 2 or 1, it's just a test score. It does not define you. You are going to do amazing things. You already, by taking this class, are doing something that is more difficult. Your peers that are not in AP, nothing wrong with not taking AP, but you took the harder road. And so realize tomorrow's going to be stressful. Wake up, get a good breakfast, make sure your device is charged, go into that test ready to go. And then once that test is done, relax. You've done it. You have done something that not that many people your age do. You're taking a college level test. Many of you are freshmen. Some of you are not freshmen. Some are juniors. Some are sophomores. But you're taking a class that's up at a higher level. You're pushing yourself. And be proud of that. Have confidence in yourselves, geographers. I know you can do this. I know your teachers know you can do this. So good luck tomorrow. You're going to do great. I'm already proud of you. Be proud of yourselves. All right. I'm going to get into our super chats in just a second, but if you're about to leave us, For the very last time of the year, thank you so much, geographers, for joining me. As always, I'm Mr. Sinn. And for the last time, signing out. I'll see you maybe next year online. Good luck tomorrow, geographers. You've got this. Now go get that 5. Go get that 4. You're going to do great. All right, that's all. That's all I got. I'll do the chat now. I won't keep like preaching and stuff, but just have more confidence in yourself. Students today, I always feel bad. They're so hard on themselves. And like you guys, you have so many pressures and things that are trying to like tear you down. And you are amazing. The students today can do so many cool things. And I'm so excited to see what the future brings with all of you guys. So keep up the great work. And also make sure to tell your teachers how thankful you are to them. They have put a ton of work in, and tomorrow they're going to be just as stressed as you. So please, please, please thank your teachers. Go in there, talk to them maybe after. So I'm just say like, hey, I really appreciate what you did. I realize they give you tests and stuff, so you're not always happy with them, but they're trying their best to make sure you can succeed. So, all right, I'll look at some of the super chats and stuff. Have a good night, everybody. Good luck. We'll go through super chats and we'll do another little mini thing at the end, but cool. All right. We have a couple shout outs and stuff. So Kenzie wants to let all of you know. So right now we're doing some super chats. So doing that. Yeah. And then we're going to just wrap up. And we're not going to do these for too long. So please don't feel like you have to keep giving them. Well, we got to wrap it up because you need to go to bed. All right. Kenzie wants to let everyone know that you are all going to get a 5. Thank you, Kenzie. Everyone is going to get 5. You're all going to rock this tomorrow. Let's see here. Thank you, Mr. Sinn, for the stream, for these. We really appreciate it. Shout out to Miss Dunn and her 8th period. Woo, woo, 5s around. Yes, shout out there. Go 8th period. Shout out to Mr. Carpenter, 6th period. Shout out to Mr. Carpenter and his 6th period. Hey, Mr. Sinn, just want to say thank you for the shout out, and shout out to Mr. John's 1st period. All right, shout out there, Mr. John's 1st period. Please have this make me. I hope you pass. You will pass. You'll do great, Carrie. Okay. Go to the next one. Some people saying they got banned. Okay. Shout out to Mr. Kellogg. Shout out to Mr. Kellogg. Yeah, shout out there. Let's see here. All right, going down. Shout out to Miss Fonso and Mr. Reynad. So shout out to both of you. I apologize if I mispronounced your name, but shout out there. All righty, going down. Shout out to Miss Carlin. Shout out to Miss Carlin at FHS. Shout out there. All right. A thank you comment, Mr. Sinn, for all the help. We'll all get 5s. You're the best. Get that perfect score. If you get a perfect score, you let me know. I hope you do. That'd be amazing. So good luck. Get that perfect score. But also, again, for everyone still watching, don't worry if you don't get a perfect score. You don't have to get a perfect score to get a 5. So realize that. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, but that's awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sinn, for the help. Good luck tomorrow, everyone. Also, tomorrow's my birthday. Hey, if it's your birthday tomorrow, happy birthday. Make sure you relax after the AP test, especially if it's your birthday. All right. Shout out to Miss McDonald's class study party. All right. Study hard, everybody. Shout out to Miss Twig's class in Utah. Shout out there. Let's see. What are the different... Okay, we're not going to go there. All right. Tip to identify social, economic, and cultural factors. Social, a lot of times think of, I'm trying to quick think. Been talking now for so long. Like hospitals, you're thinking like education, also different like social, like nightlife opportunities and stuff of there. Economic is going to deal with money, so like jobs in particular. Cultural and social oftentimes can be pretty similar. There could be some overlap. A lot of times like cultural factors, like what's important for a culture ends up dictating social opportunities or different aspects of society. So for example, cultures that have a big focus on education are going to prioritize schools more. But cultures look for things like modern culture, pop culture, folk culture, material, non-material, things that are like connecting to your religion, your food, stuff of that nature. There's a couple that did stickers. I can't see the stickers on here, so I apologize there. But I do look that later on. Mr. Sinn, thank you. I made you cry with the pep talk. I am sorry. Don't cry. The pep talk, I'm being honest, like students today are amazing. They always go above and beyond on different things. Yes, sometimes like we saw in the chat, like people mess around and that can be annoying and frustrating, but you're going to do great. Just have confidence in yourself. All right. Shout out to Miss Chelsea's 6th period. Thank you. Shout out there. Shout out to let me see quick. Okay. Shout out to Mr. Yance. Thank you so much. You're very welcome. Shout out to Miss Barnett, 5th period. All right. Or Bannert. Shout out there. Shout out to Miss Bailey, 7th period. Shout out to there. Shout out to Miss Bannett's 2nd period as well. So the 5th period and 2nd period, some debates going on. I don't know which one's the better one. Shout out to Miss Bradfield. She's amazing. I'm glad she's amazing. Make sure you tell her that she is amazing. Yes. I think, okay, I'm trying to see, is there any others? I might have missed some. I do apologize if I did. There was a lot of stuff going on tonight. Okay. Yes. All right. We're going to wrap up because it is getting late and all of you need to go to bed. So you guys are the crew that stayed the longest. So props to you. I apologize if I did miss any. I will make sure to go and look at them and kind of go through again. So if I did miss something, I apologize. There's a lot. It's very hard. I got multiple monitors, lights, and then you got the chat in a little corner. So I try to like get to the stuff and mark notes on which ones to read. But sometimes I do miss it. But all right. Yeah, it's weird. This is ending because we've done this now for 8 days in a row. But thank you all so much. We're not going to do as long of a pep talk, but realize tomorrow you're going to do great. Make sure you get to your exam plenty of time so you're not stressed. Have a good night, everybody. Geographer, you know who you are. You're watching. You're going to do great. Have confidence in yourself. Realize that you will do this. Don't try to get it perfect on it. Just do the best you can. That's all that anyone can ask for. At the end of the day, it's a test. And when it's done, you get to relax. You'll be free. You won't have to listen to me anymore. You'll probably be happy about that. So, all right. That's all we got for today. Thank you so much, geographers. As always, you're amazing, and I really appreciate it. Good luck tomorrow on the AP exam. You're going to do great. Until next time, geographers, signing out for the last time of the 2025 year. I'm Mr. Sinn, and maybe I'll see you next time. Have a good one, everybody. Good night. Good luck tomorrow. Woo, you're going to do great.